Welcome to Sleepy Tales. My name is Mateus, and before we begin today's story, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below saying, "I'll sleep well tonight." Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive into tonight's tale. Sophia had always been a hopeless romantic ever since she was a little girl. She had read countless romance novels and dreamed of finding a love as passionate and true as those she had read about. She was a hard-working student, studying medicine at a local university, but she always made time for her guilty pleasure, reading romantic fiction. One hot summer day, Sophia decided to escape the monotony of her studies and venture out into the town. She had heard of a charming little cafe on the corner of Main Street that was perfect for studying, but she had never been. As she walked in, she was immediately struck by the cozy ambience and the delicious smell of coffee wafting through the air. She ordered a latte and a pastry and settled into a cozy corner with her book. As she was reading, a young man entered the cafe, carrying a guitar case. Sophia couldn't help but notice him as he made his way to a small stage at the front of the cafe. She watched as he set up his guitar and microphone, and then he began to play. His voice was deep and soulful, and he sang with such passion that Sophia felt herself getting lost in the music. After his set was over, the young man walked over to Sophia's table and introduced himself as Lucas. They struck up a conversation about the music he played, and Sophia learned that he was a struggling musician trying to make it in the industry. She couldn't help but feel drawn to his passion for his craft and his kind heart. As they continued to talk, Sophia discovered that they had a lot in common. They both loved art, literature, and history. Lucas even revealed that he was a big fan of the classic romantic novels that Sophia adored. She felt a spark between them, and before she knew it, they exchanged phone numbers and made plans to meet up later that week. Over the next few weeks, Sophia and Lucas went on several dates and grew closer with each passing day. They talked for hours on end about their dreams and passions, and Sophia felt like she had finally found someone who understood her on a deeper level. Lucas was everything she had ever wanted in a partner: kind, passionate, and deeply romantic. But one day, everything changed. Lucas disappeared without a trace, and Sophia was left feeling confused and heartbroken. She tried calling and texting him, but there was no response. She began to worry that something terrible had happened to him. Days turned into weeks, and Sophia began to lose hope of ever hearing from Lucas again. She was walking home from the library one evening when she saw a light on in the window of a small cottage on the outskirts of town. Something about the light seemed familiar, and she felt drawn to investigate. As she approached the cottage, she heard a faint growling noise coming from inside. She cautiously pushed the door open and stepped inside. What she saw made her heart stop. Lucas was in the cottage, but he was different. His eyes were glowing, and he had hair all over his body. Sophia was horrified to realize that he had turned into a werewolf. Lucas tried to explain to her that he had been born with this condition and that he had been trying to protect her by staying away. Sophia was in shock, but she couldn't deny the feeling she still had for Lucas. She decided that she was willing to accept him for who he was, no matter what. From that moment on, they continued their romance, but with a new understanding of the challenges they would face together. Sophia couldn't believe that Lucas was a werewolf, but as she looked into his eyes, she knew that he was still the same kind and caring person she had fallen in love with. Lucas was relieved that Sophia had accepted him for who he was, and he felt a sense of peace knowing that he didn't have to hide anymore. However, the newfound understanding was not without its challenges. Lucas struggled to control his transformations, and Sophia had to constantly be on guard to protect him and others when he turned into a werewolf. Despite the difficulties, they were determined to make their relationship work. As the months passed, Sophia and Lucas grew even closer, and they decided to take a trip together to a secluded cabin in the woods. They hoped that this trip would provide them with some time away from the world and allow them to deepen their connection. One evening, as they were sitting by the fireplace, Lucas began to tell Sophia about his past. He explained that he had been born into a family of werewolves and that he had struggled to accept his condition for many years. He had spent most of his life running away from who he was, but meeting Sophia had changed everything. She had shown him that it was possible to find love and acceptance, even in the midst of his differences. Sophia listened intently as Lucas spoke, and she felt her heart fill with love and admiration for him. She could see the pain and struggle in his eyes, but she also saw the hope and determination that he carried with him. She knew that he was a special person, and she was grateful to be a part of his life. As they sat there, wrapped up in each other's arms, they heard a loud noise outside. Lucas jumped up, his instincts telling him that something was wrong. Sophia followed closely behind him as they made their way outside. As they stepped into the moonlit clearing, they saw a group of hunters approaching them. They had been tracking Lucas for months, and they had finally found him. Lucas knew that they were in grave danger, and he urged Sophia to run. She refused, telling him that she would never leave his side. The hunters closed in on them, and Lucas felt his anger rise. He had always tried to avoid violence, but he knew that he had to protect Sophia at all costs. As the hunters approached, Lucas transformed into a werewolf, his eyes glowing with a fierce determination. The hunters were taken aback by the sudden transformation, and they hesitated for a moment. This was all the time Lucas needed. He attacked them with a ferocity that they had never seen before, and Sophia watched in awe as he fought to protect them. In the end, they were able to escape, but not without suffering some injuries. Sophia tended to Lucas's wounds, and they held each other tightly as they processed what had just happened. They knew that they had to be even more careful in the future, but they also knew that their love for each other would give them the strength to face whatever challenges came their way. After the incident with the hunters, Sophia and Lucas decided that it was time to leave their secluded cabin in the woods and return to the city. They knew that they had to be more careful than ever before, and they were determined to protect their love at all costs. As they settled back into their daily routine, they found themselves more in love than ever before. They had been through so much together, and they knew that their bond was unbreakable. They talked about the future, and they dreamed of a life together filled with love and happiness. But as the days passed, Lucas began to feel a strange pull towards the forest. He knew that it was dangerous for him to go back, but he couldn't ignore the calling that he felt deep inside. He tried to ignore it, but the pull grew stronger every day. One night, while Sophia was sleeping, Lucas snuck out of their apartment and made his way back to the forest. As he stepped into the moonlit clearing, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. He had missed the solitude and the quiet of the woods, and he was grateful to be back. But as he walked deeper into the forest, he sensed that he was not alone. He turned around and saw a group of werewolves standing behind him. They were led by his father, who had come to take him back to their pack. Lucas was torn between his love for Sophia and his duty to his pack. He knew that he had to make a choice, but he didn't know what to do. His father told him that he had to come back with them and that he could never see Sophia again. Lucas was devastated. He loved Sophia more than anything, but he also felt a deep sense of loyalty to his pack. He didn't know how to choose between the two. In the end, he made a decision. He told his father that he couldn't go back with them, but that he also couldn't leave Sophia. He asked his father to understand, and he begged him to give him a chance to find a way to balance his love and his duty. His father was angry, but he could see the pain and the love in Lucas's eyes. He knew that he couldn't force him to come back, and he told him that he would have to leave the pack and live his own life. Lucas was relieved and grateful. He knew that it would be difficult to live without his pack, but he also knew that he couldn't live without Sophia. He thanked his father, and he promised to always remember his roots and his heritage. As he made his way back to the city, he felt a sense of freedom and joy wash over him. He knew that he had made the right decision, and he felt grateful to have Sophia by his side. When he arrived back at their apartment, Sophia was waiting for him. She could see the turmoil and the joy in his eyes, and she knew that something had happened. Lucas told her about his decision, and he promised to always love her and protect her. Sophia was overjoyed. She knew that they still had many challenges to face, but she also knew that their love was strong enough to overcome anything. They held each other tightly, and they dreamed about their future together. And as they looked out into the night sky, they both knew that they had found something truly special. They had found a love that was strong enough to break down barriers, to overcome obstacles, and to last a lifetime. They had found a love that was worth fighting for. Thank you for listening to this bedtime story, and remember, if you struggle with falling or staying asleep at night, click on the first link in the description for the ultimate solution to your problem. Now, choose one of these two videos and continue on our journey in the world of bedtime stories.